All right, let's talk about something so many of us deal with, those tricky, difficult relationships. Whether it's with a friend, a family member, or even a partner. Just understanding what's going on is really the first step toward making things better. You know that feeling, right? That constant tension, that sense that you have to watch every single thing you say or do just to avoid setting them off. If that sounds even a little bit familiar, then you are absolutely in the right place.
Think about it. Do you feel just exhausted after talking to them? Or maybe you notice they kind of downplay your achievements, with comments like, "Oh, that promotion? Anyone could have gotten that." If you're nodding along right now, this explainer is definitely for you.
Okay, so here's our game plan for the next few minutes. First, we're going to nail down the signs of a toxic relationship. Then, we'll dive into the psychology of why this stuff happens. And finally, we'll get into the good stuff. Powerful, practical tools you can start using today. Let's jump in.
So let's move from just having that vague, walking on eggshells gut feeling to actually putting a name on it. Because identifying the specific behaviors, that is the first and honestly, the most important step to getting your peace back.
These are some of the classic red flags you might see. Manipulation, for example. It can sound like, well, if you really cared about me, you'd cancel those plans. Or unreliability. They're the one who's always flaking on you at the last second. When this stuff happens over and over, it can seriously chip away at your self-esteem, leaving you feeling kind of small and just drained.
But here's the thing. It's deeper than just someone having bad behavior. There are some really powerful psychological things going on under the surface that make these relationships incredibly sticky and hard to leave. Let's peel back that layer.
And this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? The one we can beat ourselves up over. But the answer is almost never simple. It has nothing to do with being weak and everything to do with the complex, messy psychology of how we connect with other people.
I mean, that fear of being alone, that's a huge one. It's primal, and it can keep us stuck. Sometimes our past experiences can kind of skew our idea of what's normal, so we put up with more than we should. And then there's that roller coaster. You have these good moments that give you hope, and it creates this powerful cycle that feels almost like an addiction. It is so hard to break.
Okay, so let's flip the script for a second. What's actually driving someone to be so controlling? You might be surprised to hear that it's often not about strength at all. It's usually rooted in their own deep insecurities.
Now, this is fascinating. Psychologists sometimes talk about this dark triad of personality traits. Now, these things exist on a spectrum, right? But look at the motivations. The narcissist collects friends to feel important. The Machiavellian is more of a strategist, deliberately targeting nice people who are easier to control. And the person with psychopathic traits, they actually get bored by kindness. They're looking for drama and chaos.
Okay, enough about the problem. Let's get into the solution, because this is where you take your power back. And the single most effective tool in your entire toolkit is learning how to set boundaries.
And this right here is probably the biggest misunderstanding about boundaries. A boundary isn't a rule you set for them. It's not about controlling them. It's a rule you set for yourself. It's about what you are going to do.
Seriously, let this quote sink in for a second. This changes everything. It shifts you from feeling powerless over what they do to feeling totally empowered by what you do. You can't control them, but you have 100% control over yourself. And you can actually build one using a really simple formula. Think of it as an if-then statement for your own peace of mind. For example, if my friend starts criticizing my career choices, then I will calmly end the conversation. See, it's clear, it's about your action, not theirs, and it puts you back in the driver's seat.
But here's the catch, and it is a big one. You can't just say it. You have to be willing to follow through. Think of it like a muscle. The more you enforce your boundary, the stronger it gets. An unenforced boundary is really just an empty threat, and it teaches the other person that your words don't really mean anything.
Okay, so what if you're dealing with someone who just steamrolls over your boundaries? Someone who seems to live for drama? Well, for that specific situation, there's a more advanced technique, and it's called the gray rock method.
The whole idea is to starve them of what they're looking for, which is your emotional reaction. People who thrive on conflict need you to get upset, to argue back, to get defensive. When you make yourself as boring and uninteresting as a plain gray rock, you cut off their supply.
And just look at the difference here. It's night and day. On the left, you've got the typical reaction, getting defensive, emotional, which is exactly the drama they're craving. But on the right, the gray rock response. A simple, neutral, okay. No emotion, no argument. You give them absolutely nothing to latch onto, and the whole conflict just fizzles out.
Now, I gotta give you a heads up here. When you first start doing this, their bad behavior might actually get worse for a little while. It's called an extinction burst. They're gonna try even harder to get that old reaction out of you. But you have to stay strong, stay boring. Eventually, they'll get tired and go look for their drama somewhere else. So, all of this, the signs, the psychology, the tools, it all leads to one place. You becoming the intentional curator of your social life. You get to decide who gets your time and energy. And sometimes that means making a really tough call. But walking away from a relationship that is consistently harmful isn't a failure. It's a graduation. It's the ultimate act of self-preservation and self-respect. It's choosing you.
So I want to turn this back to you now. Before you can build the kind of social life you want, you have to know what you need. So what are your non-negotiables? What are your deal breakers? What are the core things you just won't compromise on?
Here are a few ideas to get you started, but yours are going to be personal to you. Is there a real give and take, or do you always feel like you're the one doing all the giving? Do they genuinely celebrate your wins? Do they respect your no? Defining your non-negotiables is like creating a filter. It helps you attract healthy relationships and lets the draining ones just pass on by.
And I want to leave you with this image. Think of your social circle like a garden. You have all the power to pull out the weeds that are choking the life out of everything, and to water and nurture the connections that help you grow. When you do that, you create a beautiful space where you and the right people around you can truly flourish.